Almost 2 years have passed since the October 7th terror attacks on Israel by the militant group Hamas, in which more than 1,200 people were killed and 251 were abducted to the Gaza Strip. Since then, protesters in Israel have been calling for the hostages' release and an end to the war in Gaza. According to the Hamas-run health ministry in the Gaza Strip, around 56,000 people have been killed in the war. Last week, the Israeli army ramped up its ground offensive in Gaza City, which it says is the last stronghold of Hamas. And hostages are also believed to be held there. Of the 48 remaining abductees, around 20 are thought to still be alive. But their relatives believe that chances of finding them alive are diminishing by the day. One of the remaining hostages is Cusnir Horn, who was kidnapped on October 7th from his brother's house in the Nir Oz kibbutz. Yair, his brother, was also abducted by Hamas militants and was held in captivity for 498 days. He was released in February. Dalia Cusnir Horn is Yair's and Eitan's sister-in-law, and I asked her to tell us more about Eitan's condition in captivity.
We know Eitan is alive. The last time we heard something was when Yair was released. That means February 15th. Yair told us that he's very sick. He suffers from a severe skin disease from many years ago. He's not getting any meds. He's being tortured and starved and everything, because these are the same terrorists that did October 7th almost 2 years ago. And we know that it needs to be brought back home now.
Yeah. But Eitan's brother, Yair, he managed to return home. He was held for almost 500 days. How is he now, and what has he shared with you about his time in captivity?
So he's not talking a lot about his time in captivity. He just keeps on repeating two things. The first one is that they have no time and we need to bring back all these hostages and stop the war and just bring an end to this nightmare. And the second thing is related. He says that we only think he is free, but he's not. He's still held hostage in Gaza. It's just that we see his body here in Israel, but he's walking around, but his soul and mind and everything is still there. And he cannot be free, he cannot go through, rehabilitation after 498 days. He cannot go through therapy, nothing, until the last hostage is home.
Yeah. You and all the other people advocating for the hostages are warning that the IDF's push now on Gaza City could endanger the lives of those still in the hands of Hamas. How concerned are you?
We know that this new military campaign puts their life at risk because Hamas took part of the hostages and took them from the tunnels, and they put them all around Gaza City, saying that they're going to use them as human shields. And once again, we're talking about the worst kind of terrorists that you can even imagine. So their life is very much at risk, and we're terrified and we cannot sleep. And we hear the bombings and we see the images, and we understand that this war needs to be concluded. That's it. That's way too much, and we lost so many soldiers, and the Middle East needs a new future and a brighter tomorrow, and we need negotiations, and we need to start planning a future. But first, they need to be released.
Do you think Prime Minister Netanyahu is listening to your concerns?
That's a tough question. I don't know exactly how to answer. I feel like he had missed on purpose a few opportunities of bringing a deal that will bring back the hostages, and he had other concern. And I understand that as a prime minister of a country, you want to, make Hamas disappear, because once again, they're the worst enemies. I think it's the worst thing that happened to Israel since World War II and the Holocaust and the extermination camps. But at the same time, we understand that unfortunately you cannot eliminate an ideology such as Hamas. The same time you could not eliminate anti-Semitism, and unfortunately we see things in Germany. Today I just learned that a coffee shop had this sign outside the door saying that Jews cannot enter. and have coffee. So we understand that we need to defend ourselves through other kind of agreements and bringing more countries to be part of the day after and tomorrow, and the day after in Gaza, and help secure that Gaza or at least Israel would be safe. And I think, and I want to believe, that if we build a better future for the Gazati people, they will also benefit from that, because I believe that there are many people in Gaza who don't want to have Hamas holding them, because, you know, they're being held captive by Hamas as well, but for 20 years. They want to live, they want to have food, they want to get their kids educated, they want to be able to dream of a better future. So we need the help of the entire world. And I wish that next week, instead of all those countries, you know, with double standard, talking about the Palestinian state, first make them to release the hostages and do something for the Gazari people, and don't bring prices to Hamas by declaring a state while they're still, you know, literally like standing on the blood of my brother-in-law.
Do you believe a negotiated solution is still possible?
Yes, it's the only way possible. I got Yair, my brother-in-law, due, and because of a negotiated solution. And, you know, if you look at the history of the world, all the wars ended with negotiation. It's just a question of how much blood would be spilled. That's it. We had enough. We want a negotiated solution, and Israel should have, you know, promises that if something happened, and criteria, and it can go back to war if needed, just because we need to defend ourselves. But I think that if it's done correctly, and if Europe is part of the solution, and the US and so many countries, we can all benefit. We tried the war for 2 years. Let's try negotiation now.
Yeah,
it will work.
You
we
mentioned
will have the hostages back.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but you mentioned the U.S. and I do want to touch on one very important aspect, because it's widely believed that U.S. President Trump is the only person who can stop this war, who has enough sway over Netanyahu to make a ceasefire happen, to get him to seriously negotiate. Yair actually wrote an op-ed pleading for Trump to save his brother. Do you believe he will?
I'm sure he will. I know he's about to do it very soon. Actually, Yair met President Trump twice already since he was released. And last week, President Trump met other released hostages, and he promised us, and he gave his word that he's about to do it. And they're working very hard with Egypt and with Qatar, and I hope other countries. And we're waiting for that to happen, because, as you mentioned, the US has leverage over Israel, Qatar, Egypt. And I think, as let's call them the responsible adult, they should put an end to this. And they also have enough securities to put on the table, so both sides can feel that it's the correct thing to do.
Dalia Cusnir Horn, I appreciate you sharing your story with us today, and we here at DW all hope that you can bring Eitan home very soon.
Thank you so much.